friends! It looks like nobody is logged in yet, but once again, my name is Laura Jenkins. I am the Young Adult Coordinator for the Coeur d'Alene Public Library. Hopefully we have a few people that'll join us later this session. If not, I am actually going to just do some talking about what I'm reading right now and also share a couple of recommendations that I have with you guys. Let me change just a couple settings on my computer, and then we'll be ready to go. Hope everyone is doing well. It's been a lovely spring so far. So good weather, except for today, kind of crappy, rainy, but anyway, if you are logging on to Edmodo, let me know by just saying hi, and make sure you're getting into the bring your own book discussion thread and not just posting into the main thread. So there is a post up there from me right now that says say hello if you are logged on, so go ahead and do that. If not, I'm going to get started talking about some of the books that I'm reading right now. So the first one that I want to share with all of you is called Ink and Bone, and it is by Rachel Caine, who is also the author of the Morganville Vampires novels. So if you've read any of those, this is the same author, but it's a totally different subject from what you're used to in her other books. So I'll just read the inside flap cover for you guys and talk a little bit about my experience with it. So, ruthless and supremely powerful, the Great Library is now let me start off with a different place. Okay. In an exhilarating new series, New York Times bestselling author Rachel Caine rewrites history, creating a dangerous world where the Great Library of Alexandria has survived the test of time. So, the Great Library of Alexandria, which is one of the huge wonders of the world that, doesn't exist anymore, actually survived in this book. So it's an alternate history kind of book. So it sounds very old-timey, like it's set in the past, because it's set in Egypt, and it has a lot of really cool mythology that goes along with that. But it also has a lot of really interesting technology that is more advanced than what I would say we have right now. So that's a really interesting aspect of this novel. But to continue, ruthless and supremely powerful, the Great Library is now a presence in every major city, governing the flow of knowledge to the masses. Alchemy allows the library to deliver the content of the greatest works of history instantly, but the personal ownership of books is expressly forbidden. Jess Brightwell believes in the value of the library, but the majority of his knowledge comes from illegal books obtained by his family, who are involved in the thriving black market. Jess has been sent to be his family's spy, but his loyalties are tested in the final months of his training to enter the library's service. When his friend inadvertently commits heresy by creating a device that could change the world, Jess discovers that those who control the Great Library believe knowledge is more valuable than any human life, and soon both heretics and books will burn. So a very ominous description to an altogether so far pretty light book. I'm about halfway through it, and it just is incredibly interesting. So all of these different inventions that are kind of created in this world based on the idea of what if all of the knowledge from that library at Alexandria had survived? How different would humanity be now if we had all of the knowledge that was contained in that library? Looks like we have one viewer. Hi, Brooke. Welcome. I'm just going through and talking about some of the books that I'm reading right now, and then also I'm going to talk about some other books that I am recommending to you guys. But Brooke, if you want to post about what books you're reading right now, especially since we don't have any Newfangled books that we're required to read, that would be awesome. And we'll kind of talk about that, see if I've read what you're reading. So the one that I'm talking about right now is Ink and Bone by Rachel Caine, and it's kind of a what-if futuristic but also old-time feeling story about if the Library of Alexandria had survived and continued to thrive and now has taken control of the world. So really, really exciting. Pace is really fast. A lot of interesting characters, and I really like the idea of Jess being the son of somebody that is controlling part of the black market in England, but then also kind of double crossing and going over into the library service and kind of serving in that way. So really, really interesting dynamics for characters in Ink and Bone. I thought Brooke was watching, but maybe she isn't. Hi, Brooke. Okay, so moving on to the next book that I want to talk to you guys about. It is called, this is a little older of a book. It's a young adult book rather than a middle grade novel, and we've been mostly reading middle grade, but some of our books have been YA, so I figured I'd just introduce this one to you. It's been getting a lot of buzz recently, especially around our library. It's called The Memory of Light by Francisco X. Stork, who also wrote Marcello in the Real World. So, this is a pretty deep, pretty serious one, but I'll read you the introduction to it. Vicky Cruz shouldn't be alive. That's what she thinks anyway, and why she tried to kill herself. But then she arrives at Lakeview Hospital, where she meets Mona, the live wire, Gabriel, the saint, E.M., always angry, and Dr. Desai, a quiet force. With stories and honesty, kindness, and hard work, they push her to reconsider her life before Lakeview and offer her an acceptance she has never had. Yet Vicky's newfound peace is as fragile as the roses that grow around the hospital. And when a crisis forces the group to split up, sending her back to the life that drove her to suicide, Vicky must find her own courage and strength. She may not have any, she doesn't know. So, like I said, pretty deep, pretty serious book, but also I have heard just incredible things. I obviously have checked it out. I haven't gotten a chance to really start it yet, but I just have heard incredible things from other librarians that have read it. So again, that's The Memory of Light, and it's by Francisco X. Stork. All right, and another one, a funny one that I checked out, gosh, over a month ago now, but still have not gotten a chance to read, is Kill the Boy Band by Goldie Moldavsky. And I shared this with the book club at the Coeur d'Alene Public Library, but I think it sounds absolutely hilarious, and it has really cool artwork throughout it, so you can see like the inside cover pages are really neat, and just like the design of the book in general is really cool. All right. The inside of this one says, "Just know from the start that it wasn't supposed to go like this. All we wanted was to get near them. That's why we got a room in the hotel where they were staying. We were not planning to kidnap one of them, especially not the most useless one. But we had him, his room key, his cell phone, and his secrets. We were not planning on what happened next. We swear." So it's all about this pair of girls that are absolutely obsessed with a boy band known as the Ruperts. And they kidnap one of the members of the band and then end up in like this whole series of misadventures, and it's supposed to be really, really funny, but I haven't gotten a chance to start it, like I said, but I've heard really kind of like fun and interesting comments about the book. So I'm guessing that it's going to be like a little bit of a romantic comedy. I'm guessing some sort of relationship will start, just because that's usually the formula for these kinds of books, but it should be all in all a pretty fun adventure. Hey Brooke, are you able to see me all right? Just let me know on Edmodo if you're having any connection problems, because I'm working from my home Wi-Fi network right now and it isn't as fast as the one at the library. So let's just double check and see. And like I said, Brooke, if you want to post, oh, you are watching. Okay, cool. So if you want to post about what you are reading right now, Brooke, feel free to do so on Edmodo, and we can kind of like chat about it, and I'll ask you some questions, only if you want to. Okay, so other books that I'm reading right now, I am a huge comic book nerd. So one of the things that I'm reading right now is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It's a comic series, and it's one of the old comic series, so it was from before Disney purchased Marvel and started making new comics. So this is one of the old ones, and it's published by Dark Horse, which no longer really has rights to the Star Wars comics, but you can see like it has a lot of our favorite species in there, and just kind of like jumps back in time. So it's the back of it says, thousands of years before Luke Skywalker would destroy the Death Star. Sorry if that spoiled anything for anyone. Would destroy the Death Star in that fateful battle above Yavin 4. One lone Padawan would become a fugitive hunted by his own masters, charged with murdering every one of his fellow Jedi in training. From a squat, scheming Snivian con man to refugees from the treacherous undercity of the planet Taurus, Zane Carrick will find unexpected allies in his desperate race to clear his name before the unmerciful authorities enact swift retribution upon him. The wildest adventure in the ancient history of Star Wars begins here! So this is the very first issue, or what's called a trade paperback, meaning it's like all a bunch of like skinny magazine comics bound into a book. That's what a trade paperback is. Ooh, that's fun. Kind of cool artwork throughout it. I like this one because it has really good artwork. So this is the first volume in that series. Unfortunately, we don't have any of these graphic novels in the library catalog because they stopped publishing them. So when Disney purchased the rights to the Star Wars franchise, Dark Horse, who made all of these wonderful series before, had to stop publishing their Star Wars comics. So it's really hard to find these now. You can sometimes get on Amazon and they'll have like used copies that'll come up for sale, but you can't just go to a bookstore anymore and buy these. So Knights of the Old Republic, if you're able to get your hands on copies of it, it's a really good series so far, and I really like the characters. If you enjoy Star Wars, the Star Wars comics are all excellent. I have yet to read a Star Wars comic series that I do not like. But if you do read comics and you have read Star Wars comics that you didn't like, let me know in the comments, and I am so happy to avoid any bad Star Wars stories that you might know of. Okay, so I don't have any more physical copies of books because they're the ones that I wanted to talk about are pretty popular. Great, I'm glad you can see and hear me perfectly fine. Thanks, Brooke, for letting me know. You're reading the 4th Michael Vey book, Hunt for the Jade Dragon. I heard really good things about that series. I haven't read it, but all of the teens that come to the Coeur d'Alene Library and love adventure stories are absolutely addicted to the Michael Vey books. So that's really cool. What's your favorite part about it? Or what's your favorite thing about the book series so far, without any spoilers? So, like, do you like how fast-paced the action is? Do you like the main character? What about this book series makes you coming back and reading through to the very 4th book? Okay, so other books that I am looking at right now and books that I'm interested in, just to give you a couple more things that you can possibly pick up on your shelves. Oh no, I just closed one of them. Let me open it back up. There we go. All right, so I'll show you the covers on my iPad. It probably won't come out very clearly, but this is The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherine M. Valente. And it has been on my list for a really, really long time. It came out in 2011. Sorry, I have a cold right now, and that's why I'm at home instead of at the library. So if my voice starts getting really scratchy, I'm sorry. But I'll read you the description from Goodreads so that you can learn a little bit about it. So 12-year-old September lives in Omaha and used to have an ordinary life until her father went to war and her mother went to work. One day, September is met at her kitchen window by a green wind, taking the form of a gentleman in a green jacket, who invites her on an adventure, implying that her help is needed in Fairyland. The new Marquess is unpredictable and fickle, and also not much older than September. Only September can retrieve the talisman the Marquess wants from the Enchanted Woods, and if she doesn't, then the Marquess will make life impossible for the inhabitants of Fairyland. September is already making new friends, including a book-loving wyvern and a mysterious boy named Saturday. So I've heard that this is just a really offbeat, really fun and interesting series. And right now, I think there's 4 books in the series. Let me double check. Looks like the 5th book just came out recently, and it's called The Girl Who Raced Fairyland All the Way Home. And it actually just came out on March 1st, the 5th book. So really good series to get into. I know that a couple of my friends on Goodreads are like head over heels with this series. So really good one to pick up if you're interested in fun, kind of offbeat fantasies. So I already told you guys that I am a huge comic book nerd, and this series is called Lumberjanes, and it is written by, let me pull up the description for you. It is written by, I think it's Noelle Stevenson. Let me just double check to make sure that that's the correct author name. Yeah, Noelle Stevenson. And the very first volume, which is what this one is Beware the Kitten Holy. So here's the description for this one. Friendship to the max at Miss Quinzilla, I think it's Quinzilla Fisquin Pennyquickwill Thistle Crumpet's camp for hardcore lady types. Things are not what they seem. Three-eyed foxes, secret caves, anagrams. Luckily, Joe, April, Mal, Molly, and Ripley are 5 rad, butt-kicking best pals determined to have an awesome summer together. And they're not going to let a magical quest or an array of supernatural critters get in their way. The mystery keeps getting bigger, and it all begins here. So I've read, the 3rd volume comes out this month, and I've read the first 2 volumes, and they are wonderful. It is such a good series. It's so much fun, and the drawings are really, really, really funny, especially if you're like a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout. You can see so many parallels between the Lumberjanes and then like Girl Scouts. So they try to teach all of these different fun like outdoorsy things, and then they do craft times, and they're at a summer camp, so it's like very similar to what you experience in Girl Scouts. And they also at some point run into the boy group of Scouts and kind of like have a big to-do with the Boy Scouts. So that's really, it's a really funny scene to read, and also involves zombies. So, always a good one to pick up. All right. Looks like Brooke has responded. She is reading the Michael Vey series and is on the 4th book, Hunt for the Jade Dragon, and she says that she likes the twists and the different personalities and powers of the characters. So, definitely, that's a really good reason to want to continue reading a book series. So thanks for sharing, Brooke. And it looks like she says, I love the book series, The Throne of Glass. It is amazing. You must read them all twice. I have checked out that book 3 separate times and have kept it for 2 months every single time, and I have never been able to actually pick it up and just start reading it. But I really, really want to read it. I've heard such good things about it. One of my other librarian friends, Jackie, has read the entire series, and she just obsesses over it all the time. So I'm glad that you like that one too, Brooke. I will get to it eventually. I really, really want to read it. Okay, another book that I want to share with all of you guys and gals. Okay, Brooke asked, have you read this series? No, I haven't read it. And I haven't read School for Good and Evil either, but I have heard such good things about it. And what is the name of the author for School for Good and Evil? I think it's Chenini, I think. School for Good and Evil. Just so you guys know what we're talking about. So it's the School for Good and Evil, and it's written by Soman Chenani. I hope that's correct. I'm sure that pronunciation's wrong. But I'll read you guys, for everyone else, I'll read you the description of the book. The first kidnappings happened 200 years before. Some years it was 2 boys taken, some years 2 girls, sometimes one of each. But if at first the choices seemed random, soon the pattern became clear. One was always beautiful and good, the child every parent wanted as their own. The other was homely and odd, an outcast from birth. An opposing pair, plucked from youth and spirited away. This year, best friends Sophie and Agatha are about to discover where all the lost children go. The fabled School for Good and Evil, where ordinary boys and girls are trained to be fairy tale heroes and villains. As the most beautiful girl in Gavaldon, Sophie has dreamed of being kidnapped into an enchanted world her whole life. With her pink dresses, glass slippers, and devotion to good deeds, she knows she'll earn top marks at the School for Good and graduate a storybook princess. Meanwhile, Agatha, with her shapeless black frocks, wicked pet cat, and dislike of nearly everyone, seems a natural fit for the School for Evil. but when the two girls are swept into the endless woods, they find their fortunes reversed. Sophie's dumped in the school for evil to take uglification, death curses, and henchman training, while Agatha finds herself in the school for good, thrust amongst handsome princes and fair maidens for classes in princess etiquette and animal communication. But what if the mistake is actually the first clue to discovering who Sophie and Agatha really are? The School for Good and Evil is an epic journey into a dazzling new world, where the only way out of a fairy tale is to live through one. So this is another really good book series that I've heard a lot about. I'm so glad that you've read it, Brooke, because I just have heard so many good things about it. The most recent book is The Last Ever After, and I think it's the last book in the series. Yes, it's the conclusion to the series, and it came out last summer. So definitely see if you guys can check that out. Brooke gives it 2 thumbs up, I think, and I also recommend it, even though I haven't read it. Okay, read the prequel first. Alright, so I will see if I can read the prequel. Usually I like going back and reading prequels, though, because then it fills in like questions that I have. Okay, I'm going to finish a couple more books that I want to tell you guys about. One of them being I have to say, my favorite book from last year. And that's kind of a big deal for me to say, because it's really hard for me to pick favorite books, but this is most likely my favorite book from last year. It is called The Crossover, and it's by Kwame Alexander. And you can see right there that it was awarded the Newbery Medal. So a lot of people probably consider it to be their favorite book from last year. But The Crossover is a book about brothers and about basketball. And I know not a whole ton of people are really interested in books about sports, but this book is a novel written in verse. So it is written as a poem, which is just about the coolest thing ever. So as you're reading this, it really begs to be written out, or like read out loud, because all of the words are just so quick-paced and everything fits together so well, and you can tell that as Kwame Alexander was writing it, he was very specific in every single word that he chose. So here's just a little excerpt from this book. With a bolt of lightning on my kicks, the court is sizzling. My sweat is drizzling. Stop all that quivering, 'cause tonight I'm delivering, announces dreadlocked 12-year-old Josh Bell. He and his twin brother Jordan are awesome on the court, but Josh has more than basketball in his blood. He's got mad beats too, that tell his family's story in verse, in this fast and furious middle grade novel of family and brotherhood. Josh and Jordan must come to grips with growing up on and off the court to realize breaking the rules comes at a terrible price, as their story's heart-stopping climax proves a game changer for the entire family. So I read this on a flight down to California. That's how good it was. I read it over just the series of one flight down to California, and honestly, the best book that I read last year, for sure. Okay, let's see what Brooke is saying. And what's really great about that, okay, so it looks like Brooke has read all of the series, the School of Good and Evil, or School for Good and Evil. So that's really great. I have heard such good things about it. I really want to read it. Okay, so what's really great about The Crossover is that it isn't just a standalone book. Well, I mean, it might be a standalone story, but Kwame Alexander also just wrote and published on April 5th, Booked. And it's written in the same style. So here's like a little excerpt from that book. Like lightning you strike, fast and free, legs zoom, downfield, eyes fixed on the checkered ball, on the goal, 10 yards to go. Can't nobody stop you. Can't nobody cop you. In this follow-up to the Newbery-winning novel, The Crossover, soccer, family, love, and friendship take center stage as 12-year-old Nick learns the power of words as he wrestles with problems at home, stands up to a bully, and tries to impress the girl of his dreams. Helping him along are his best friend and sometimes teammate, Kobe, and the Mac, a rapping librarian who gives Nick inspiring books to read. So obviously I'm going to like it because it has a librarian character. I mean, come on. But it sounds really great. I have it on hold right now, so I'm waiting for it to come into the library for me so that I can read it, and I'm sure I'm going to love it just as much as I loved The Crossover. Okay, and the last one that I have that I want to share with you guys today, I didn't take a picture of. Let me find a picture of it really fast, and then I will show it to you. Okay. And this is going to be a really fun one. I've heard that people actually either really love this book or they think it's really boring. So fingers crossed that it actually is a really, really good one. I have it on my holds list at the library right now. So I will let you guys know when I know more about it. Okay, so this is the cover. It's called Rebel of the Sands, and it's by Alwyn Hamilton. All right, and here's your description. She's more gunpowder than girl, and the fate of the desert lies in her hands. Mortals rule the desert nation of Miraji, but mystical beasts still roam the wild and barren wastes, and rumor has it that somewhere, jinnies still practice their magic. But there's nothing mystical or magical about Dustwalk, the dead-end town that Amani can't wait to escape from. Destined to wind up wed or dead, Amani's counting on her sharpshooting skills to get her out of Dustwalk. When she meets Jin, a mysterious and devastatingly handsome foreigner, in a shooting contest, she figures he's the perfect escape route. But in all her years spent dreaming of leaving home, she never imagined she'd gallop away on a mythical horse, fleeing the murderous Sultan's army with a fugitive who's wanted for treason. And she'd never have predicted she'd fall in love with him, or at least that he'd help her unlock the powerful truth of who she really is. So like I said, people are pretty divided over this one. It has really high ratings on all of the places that I've looked, but I've had some friends say like, it just wasn't my cup of tea, I didn't really get into it, and then I've had other friends say like, oh my gosh, you have to put this on hold right now, it's the most amazing book of the year. So two very different perspectives for the exact same book. But it looks like we are coming up on 5 o'clock right now. Thank you, Brooke, for joining me today. For everyone else, I hope that some of these book talks are going to be helpful for maybe helping you pick the next book that you pick up off of the shelves. And just so you know, all the books that I talked about today, with the exception of the Star Wars comic, I'm sorry, are available from your local public libraries. So you can either call the library and put a hold on it, or you can log into your account online by going to your library's website and accessing your account. And you can actually access the catalog and place holds that way from the comfort and convenience of your own home. So if you're looking for something to read, I hope one of these sounded interesting. If not, give Nick, Mandy, or I a call at any of the libraries, and we are so happy to help you find a book to read. Especially when we have weather like this. When it's rainy, all you really want to do is be inside reading and just trying to stay dry and stay warm. So thank you so much for joining me today, Brooke, and thanks everyone else. I hope you enjoyed this video and you're having a great spring. We'll be back next Thursday at 4:30, and one of our wonderful librarians from out at Hayden will be sitting in, chatting with you, and talking about the books that you're reading. So thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.